Hello friends and followers, welcome back to TJ's Modeling Bench, and it's time for another update on the PYRO 1/25th scale cord convertible Phaeton. I've been working on it steadily, but it's not really showing a lot of progress up to this point. There's a lot of cleanup involved, a lot of filling, priming, sanding, priming again, sanding again, filling, priming. Yeah, it's kind of a never-ending thing with this kit. So if you've never worked with a PYRO kit, which I had not before, but I've heard things about them, so I was somewhat prepared for what I ended up with. You know, these are older kits. I think the date on this one is 1955. So the quality and the detail are not what you would expect from today's modern kits. So if you ever pick up one of these, just keep that in mind. It's gonna take some work to make it look as good as some of today's stuff does. So, but before we get to the update and what I've actually got done on it, I've got a shop card shout out to make from Manny's Scale Modeling. And he actually sent me two of his shop cards. There's this one, and then he's also got this one, and I'll hold that semi-still so you can get the QR code if you want. Anyway, he has some really cool builds on his channel, and he's got a series where he did a dragon mural on a model, so with the airbrush. So if you're into airbrushing and want to try something new and really exercise your artistic skills, go check out some of those videos. You'll probably learn quite a bit from those. But anyway, back to what we've been working on here with the cord, and let me move the camera and we'll get after it. All right, so I'm trying to make detail improvements everywhere that I think I can without going too overboard with it. But one of the things I think I can improve on are the exhaust ducts, which are pretty prominent on the any of the Auburn Cord Duesenberg cars. They use this flex pipe that came out of the hood, and in this case it goes into from underneath the cowl and then out of the fenders, right? And the way these are molded, there's a horrible seam line that runs on the outside and on the inside, and unfortunately the raised ribs don't line up with each other. And I thought at first, maybe I could just file in between and clean it up a little bit, because there was some flash there as well. But the more I looked at it, the more I just wasn't real happy with the way they looked. And I thought, what can I do that might look better? So what I've come up with, I've got some of this black wire that is sold as radiator hose. I want to say this is probably from Detail Master. All right, and it's just a stranded copper wire inside of a black insulation, but it's sized for 1/24th, 1/25th scale radiator hoses. And that's about the right diameter, right? In fact, it's almost exact. And what I'm going to end up with is going to be a little bit larger than what this is actually. So I've got that, and then I've also got this lead wire. This is lead wire that's used in tying flies if you're a fly fisherman, if you make your own flies. And this is 0.02 inch lead wire. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping it around this piece of wire, this insulated wire. And hopefully that will give me the end result look that I'm after. All right, I need to I need to try to hold this end while I get started on it. Okay, so once I get a few wraps, it should go easier. Let's see, maybe let that roll on its own away. And there we go. I think those look a lot better than these would have looked once they're painted. I think this actually, to me, looks more like flex hose. The wheels and tires have been another struggle. Of course, the wheel outboard portion of the wheels were chromed, so I stripped those down. The tires are a vinyl rubber tire, so there's a little bit of give, but they're pretty tight. And the wheel backs and the wheel fronts don't go in easy. I mean, it takes some real flexing of this thing to get it seated properly on the tire. And I struggled. In fact, I thought I was going to have to sand more of this interior rim to get these to fit, because they just were not going on. And then finally, after a lot of manhandling, I finally got it to kind of snap in there. All right, so that one's in there now, and it's a flush fit all the way around. But then now the wheel back, you got to kind of do the same thing. They are not easy to get on there, but I found once they're on there pretty good. There, that one finally snapped in. So I've got the other three here, but I'm gonna have to disassemble them all again for paint. I thought about leaving them like that and then masking them for painting, but in the end, I think it's going to be easier to do it all separately. And of course, the tires will have this wide white wall painted on them as well. And the tires got a bunch of, I don't know, flaky stuff all over them. They came out of the package like that. See, like this one, there's stuff on them. That one's almost got a metallic look, like it came from the chrome. So I don't know. I'll see if I can clean those up. I wouldn't normally primer and paint these vinyl tires, but I might have to. I don't know. In fact, I might have to, just so that the white wall adheres well enough without cracking and coming off. So it may take a couple attempts to get these correct, but the wheels will actually be body color. The kit had them chrome. That's not very accurate, actually. A body color is a little bit more accurate in most cases. So there we go. It's more accurate than what was there to begin with. So there's where we're at with the chassis and body to that point. The front fenders, all right, so when they're installed, they're like this. The engine is in this location with the exhausts going into the fender wells. Yeah, the seam that was these two halves, that took a lot of work, a lot of putty, sanding, filling, primering, reprimering, resanding, filling. Yeah. There was huge sink marks here, which I can still see a remnant of that. So I don't know if that's even as good as I can get it yet. I might still need to do some more work on that. Right now I can't tell if that's actually a divot or if the primer just isn't as thick there and I'm seeing ghosting of where I had sanded and primed it prior to the primer that's on there now, which is a possibility. And then this one as well. On the outside, now this one, I don't recall this one being as bad on the outside. So this would be the outside of the fender versus the inside. And this side, you can see that there was a divot there that we filled. This side looks really good now. So I don't know if I need to, maybe I need to shoot a little more primer on that and see what happens. But yeah, both of them were just terrible, really. Just not good at all. But I think I've got them much better. These are actually headlights. So this automobile, the Cord, was one of the first automobiles to have hidden headlights. So these panels, I'm not positive how they operated. I think they were probably vacuum, engine vacuum operated, and they may have gone up underneath the fender well, kind of like an eyelid, or they rotated around kind of like, Corvettes did for a while. But I'm not positive about that. I haven't really looked into that yet to see how those were operated. But the reference material I do have, or that I have found so far, these are actually flush with the fender, but in this kit, they're a bit of a raised detail. So I may have to sand those down a little more so that they look more proper to the flush fitting that they're supposed to be. And then what else have we got? We've got all kinds of parts that have been cleaned up and are in primer now. Here's the bottom of the front seat. All right, so that's the front, and then here's one of your seat backs. All right. This is the back for the rear seat. Here's our hood, which I didn't bother with the ejector pin marks on the underside of it because I don't think I'm going to have it open at all. And then our engine. This is a work in progress as well. So I've already started to add some detail that wasn't there. I did remake the fan. I rebuilt that from scratch so that our fan blades are thinner. They look a little bit more scale. These tubes right here, that's brass that I added to make it look like a part of this tube. And what this is the carry through for the spark plug wires that go to this portion here, which I guess technically is your distributor. And then there's a cap. All right, the way this was molded, it had just a not quite round dome on it. It wasn't even a dome. It was more like a can, right? But the reference material I have shows more of a bell shape. So I cut it off. I've grooved the top of this, and then I have, if I can find it, I probably am not going to find it. Anyway, I have a little piece that I made that has more of that dome bell shape to it, and I'll glue that on top. Where is that? I know I've got it here somewhere. Well, anyway, I don't know where it is offhand. Oh, here it is. Here it is. All right, so this little dome cap will get glued on there. All right, and then our spark plug wires will come out from where the groove is on either side, and they'll go into this tube, and it's actually molded in. The wires come out of this tube, and then these are your spark plugs. So we're going to do our best to detail that up just a little bit more, make it more accurate. This carburetor, I actually cut off what was there because it really didn't represent the carburetor at all, honestly. And this is a 3D printed carburetor that I hacked off some of the bowl and things that were molded into it to make it look and resemble a little more the actual carburetor that this engine would have had. And in other reference material I've seen, all right, so this is a chain cover and pulley on the back of this. The way this is molded, it covers all that. I haven't really seen it like this on the reference material. The pulleys and everything are visible on it, so we're just going to leave that the way it is. I have an air cleaner. I may have to find another one. I think the one I have is a little too large for this to look right, so I need one that's slightly smaller. We will add some radiator hoses that will come back to about here on each side. I may have to scratch build a little bit of a tubing that hose will connect to. So, it's not looking bad though. A little bit of detail and some detail painting will make that look really good, I think. So anyway, that's where we're at. All right. So you can see not a lot of progress to really show, but it's taken me a good amount of time just to get to where I'm at now. But the good part is I'm really close now to getting things assembled and then getting paint on things. So I'd say we're probably in the neighborhood of probably the halfway mark on this project. All right. So thanks for tuning in. And if you have not yet, please subscribe. And thank you to all those people who did subscribe in recent weeks and months. I am now over 1,000 subscribers, so yay for whatever that's worth. Anyhow, hope to see y'all again soon. And until then, peace and love.